Welcome, everybody. We are back for Matt and John Make a Podcast. This is now episode 38 of the podcast. And as always, I would like to thank you all who tuned in weekly for our weekly reaction show to both AEW Dynamite and to NXT. Matt and I enjoy doing these shows every single week. Gives us something to talk about consistently while at the same time churning out some more content and not having to devote as much time on the weekly podcast for the wrestling shows and also as always thanks to Ryan as we've been talking about we're going to be continuing with that format and once things slowly get back into shape, we're going to be at some point doing our hourly shows. Not exactly sure when that's going to happen, but we're just trying to basically get our feet wet with that thing there. But but yeah, thank you tuning in. Just any sort of activity really helps out with the channel. And yeah, I mean, like, just it's always fun. I'm talking wrestling with uh, other people too, so I really enjoy that. How about you, man?
Yeah, it's always fun. I mean, it's a good way to, especially in B show,
Mm-hmm.
to end the week. Um, we do that. We do that live, and then we tape this either before it, right, or right after. So it's kind of just something to look forward to at the end of the week, and then we
Mm-hmm.
have what we do in the middle with the reaction show. It's something to do. Um, I know it's
Especially now,
yeah.
especially.
Even though most of what we do is wrestling related in a sub category, if you
Mm-hmm.
will. And it sucks because it's nothing else is happening, so there's not much we can talk about. Um,
Well, the good thing is, though, a week from tomorrow, Matt, we're gonna be getting a lot more UFC shows. So, and I guess we'll just kind of
yeah,
segue right into that there. So Dana White was on, and well, he was on an Instagram live video with ESPN's Fred Okamoto, and and as we all know, UFC 249 will be premiering next on like May 9th, which is a week from today once this podcast drops. And that is obviously is being headlined by Tony Ferguson versus Justin Gaethje, but Dana also announced that there will be two more cards. So on on Wednesday, May 13th, that card will be headlined by Anthony Smith versus Glover Teixeira, and and also for May 16th, that will be headlined by Alistair Overeem versus Walt Harris, and also on that card you also have Claudia Judd Claudia Jadelia versus Angela Hill. Also have Dan Ige versus Edson Barbosa, and which this is Edson's first fight at as he is going down to 145 there. So I'm just glad that there's going to be some more live live sport content that's going to be coming. I'm not. We might do a possible reaction show for the pay per view for next week. I haven't really decided on that yet. Just kind of depends how things um work out for that because typically Matt and I would be at the casino for these cards. However, because of the current circumstances, obviously that isn't happening. So yeah, we'll possibly talk about that. But and as we're talking more about the Corona, Matt. Florida is added again. Are, are they not here? Right.
Only the way Florida can. And before we get into that, did you
Mhm.
the side thing? I just popped in my head that
Mhm.
apparently Georgia,
Mhm.
for driver's license for people getting their driver's license,
Mhm.
they don't need to do the driving test. They need kind of just need a parent approval,
Wow.
and then and other stuff like other requirements, and they can get a driver's license.
That seems like a bad idea to me.
Yes,
It seems like a
slightly a bad idea.
yeah. It's like, what the hell are you guys doing?
Mom, can I get my driver's license? Sure, you can. Boom, driving. I wonder
Can
how.
I can I can I have you sign this permission slip?
Yeah, can you give me permission slip to say I can drive?
Like like
I think that was legit. I don't see why. I looked.
I'm not.
There's. Oh
I
wait,
do
here we
not
go.
not not believe you. I mean, that's how crazy that things have gotten at
Yeah,
this
that
stage.
is that is true. It is. I've double checked. It is true.
Jesus Christ. But yeah, so just getting back to Florida. So now, and this is affecting what WWE and AEW are doing, because now the Florida governor or some sort of higher ups in the
Governor.
government
Yeah.
there, basically are allowing small social gatherings. So basically, it's 25% of that of a venue, and they have to be 6 feet apart,
Probably. Yeah.
right, Matt?
Yeah.
Okay. So, so yeah, that's slowly opening the gate there. So, with that being said, does WWE and AEW start to allow some fans into their weekly shows? And I think we could possibly see it for double or nothing, possibly. I think that's pretty possible, especially with it being at Daly's place. There's more space there, so I feel like that they could probably do that. But at the performance center, that would seem a little bit tough, just because it's such a small area for that. Wouldn't you say so?
Yeah. I mean, it it almost feel like almost a little bit more than the wrestlers that are in the crowd for AEW,
Mm-hmm.
and that might. I don't know. It just might not sound right. Like you just might have a couple people just reacting, and they can yell whatever they want, right?
But
Because
so you have like what, 200 or 300 people there. I think that's going to make a world of difference there.
and 300 in what the performance center.
No, at like Daly's place. I'm just
Well, oh, if you can get okay 200, 300 people, if there's enough room and you get 6 feet apart,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But I'm just saying, if it's a smaller crowd,
But it's going to be, obviously. So
way smaller than 100 people, I don't
I
know.
wonder I wonder how they would
I don't.
actually actually logistically work that out there.
Yeah, how do you just give free tickets away for people that live locally? Let's just say performance center.
Yeah, I mean, like you.
I don't know what you do.
Mhm.
I
I'm
really
not
don't
sure.
know.
Yeah,
Would be much better than not having any people at all.
absolutely. I mean, like I'd rather it be limited that way, to where you can
Do
still
you
run to.
do you test those fans coming in? Like
Yeah,
how like
I think you have to. I think you have to.
they like I don't know. It's it
Mhm.
I if I'm in charge of both companies, I I wouldn't want to be right now.
I think if you're Tony Khan, you don't do anything until double or nothing. I would still keep it at zero fans until then. Just because then it will give you enough time, and like who knows what can happen in the next 3 weeks. So a lot more restrictions could be lifted in that span of time.
Well, yeah, and then to be fair for um, us here in PA,
Mm-hmm.
at least some counties, pretty much in the northwest of the state,
Mm-hmm.
are going to start reopening more stuff in
Mm-hmm.
the there's two phases: the red phase, the yellow phase, and the green phase. We're in the red phase now. Basically, stay at home and whatever limited people, and then um, those counties next Friday, the 8th, are going to be in a yellow phase. And I think if I read something, I got to find it, that I think places could open, but no more than like 24 people, and they still have
Mm-hmm.
to do social distancing and all that stuff, and probably wear masks and whatnot. So there's slowly more things coming on, and I guess this is our COVID talk. Um, since I somehow segued into that, and so like things are slowly getting there, and there was like a PDF of all this for like our state, and I can't find it. It's making me mad. But like things are slowly happening, and the week after that, I think our counties. I guess that's the
Yeah,
15th,
it's the 15th. Yeah,
like
yeah, it's 15th.
Allegheny County, so
Mhm.
around the city of
I
Pittsburgh.
think I think by June, maybe July at the latest, is when we're going to see more social gatherings are going to be improved, especially if, say, when they do with the limited gatherings and like they're and everyone seems fine. And did you also see this on the news yesterday? Yesterday, I think it was one UPMC doctor basically said how the mortality rate is like so low now that they're moving forward with with doing regular surgeries now, and that with the whole media coverage is just being kind of overblown with how deadly that the virus actually is. Did you see or did you hear
I think
about that?
here's something like that. Yeah, that's the thing. But like, um, if I'm looking here, this. So what's the yellow phase? So like the yellow phase, the counties at least here opening up. Like telework must continue where feasible, like working from home and basically what we're doing. Um, Businesses with in-person operations must follow business and building safety orders. Child care open, comply with their guidance. Schools still remain closed. Social restrictions. So that means the stay-at-home order is lifted for, it says here, aggressive mitigation. Large gatherings of more than 25 prohibited. So 25 and less. In-person retail allowable, but curbside and delivery is preferable, preferred. Let's just do that because I can't say it. Indoor
There you go.
recreation, health, and wellness facilities and personal care services such as gyms, spas, hair salons, nail salons, other entities that provide massage therapy, and all entertainment such as casinos, theaters remain closed, and restaurants and bars limited to carry out and delivery only. So with the yellow,
And speaking of entertainment, I'm still shocked that though we haven't heard anything about Joe Rogan's thing being canceled yet here at
oh yeah, because we are going to go to Joe Rogan. Yeah, that I
I'm surprised I haven't heard anything about that because too that's only
like 2 weeks
what yeah it's like
or
two
so.
or three yeah it's 2 weeks from tomorrow, yeah, it's 2 weeks from
I got
tomorrow.
probably
I
close to that.
I
Yeah.
I don't know how that goes on there.
Um. So with the yellow phase, at least for us,
Hmm.
um, basically basically it's almost the same thing,
Hmm.
but some businesses um, can allow more people in, and
Hmm.
it's less people. I I mean, I know people are like upset that not everybody is immediately open, but like, and it's
One
easy,
step at a
and
time.
it's easy for me to say, because I mean I'm not affected as bad as some people, and especially like small businesses, like
Hmm.
a local. I don't know if you saw a local drive-in theater um, was supposed to open. They said they're supposed to open. They were told they were supposed to open, but then they were told it was a mistake, and now like
Hmm.
they spent on this money with repairs and stuff that they were going to plan to do anyways, but to help get ready for people getting open and be there. And since they're not opening, they're like
Hmm.
losing money. Obviously, no money's coming in.
Right.
Um, so I just saw that, and like people were starting like GoFundmes to try to raise money for them. Um,
Yeah.
I,
Well, I think too with the whole social distancing thing, that like especially with like drive-ins, those are going to be. I think that they're going to start to make a little bit of a comeback here, just because I just don't feel like that a lot of people are going to be going into regular movie theaters till who knows
yeah,
when what. Yeah.
and that can lead, and that's going to lead into the news that came out earlier in the week with AMC and Universal.
So,
So
brother.
Universal, and this is all started with the Trolls movie, Trolls World Tour, that they released that straight to digital because obviously
Hmm.
nobody's in the theater, and AMC is upset by that because um, I guess I think
Which is kind of funny because isn't a MC struggling a little bit right now?
I well ever yeah I think
Well,
everybody
like,
is.
well, them more specifically, like even before the pandemic, weren't they like closing down um theaters and stuff and um around that time? I thought I read something about that, but I can't quite.
Uh, yeah. And I think it's a thing with not pushing back the like, movies and stuff to allow when they do reopen to go
Mhm.
and actually see it, and that's revenue for the theater, and I guess just agreements. I mean, I see both sides of this, but at the same time, I think Universal was doing it because people are home, especially it's a kids movie. Um, some way to entertain your
Mhm. Right.
kid during this. Um, and it, I don't want to like totally be on Universal side because for AMC it is a business, and obviously they're not making money because nobody's
Mhm.
going. You probably have to close stuff down.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know. It's tough to do because I mean other companies are doing stuff straight to digital. What's here in this article, and it's from CNBC, and I'll have that probably linked down below. Um, I think Warner Brothers is putting, I think Scoob about like Scooby the baby Scooby. I don't know. I think
Mhm.
arrive on demand in May. Disney's Optimus Fowl. I probably mispronounced that. Goes to Disney Plus. Paramount's putting the Lovebirds, or that's going up to Netflix. So like that's just an example. Um, so what's this? I see this poll here. Public places Americans will avoid uh, after the lockdown ends. 68% any location slash travel. 45% shopping centers, and in third place, 44% movie theaters. And going down the line real quick, finished up this column for public transportation 40, sports events 40, international travel 37%, food and drink 37, gyms 31%. And just because it doesn't add up to 100 if you're thinking. Um, People who took the survey could select multiple options, so that's why you probably the percentages are not 100%, obviously. But another question that's coming out of this is, um, what happens to movie theaters after this? Like, do we still have that experience? Because the business, let's say tomorrow the lift, the lockdown ends, you can go whatever you want. It's going to take some time for people to go
It's
back to
gonna
movie
take a lot of
theaters.
time, and
You're not going to have sold out things. And do you sell tickets and only have a certain number of people? You block off seats to have like
I think
two
you have to.
seats in
I think
between.
you have to. Yep. I think you have to.
Yeah,
I think at least for the rest of this year, that's what it's going to be like. Just because, um, like you still need to be careful, and I mean, wouldn't be surprised if you are mandated to even wear like masks to when you're in the theater. Would not surprise me if that's still in place.
yep. Or mask like this,
Yep.
or gloves. I mean,
I would not surprise me.
we were talking when I was talking about before we started to record this. Um, I was in a Zoom meeting with because I help out with uh, band, high school band, and we had a meeting about planning about what are we going to do during the summer, because we usually have a couple dates in June, like a summer camp, if you will, to like do stuff, get music, and we might have to do stuff over like Zoom. And
Yep. Yeah. Like as far as goes with your band camp and everything, man. I'm not sure if you'll even have that this year.
true, but we were talking about if depending on if there's a football season, if high school sports are a thing, and if they are, when do we have time to do our thing to get ready? Because you want a halftime show, or you just like, how do the players stay safe? Because I mean, we don't know, because let's just say that's August when school starts, and like when we go back to school, is every student have to wear a mask, like,
Yeah,
and
what
stuff.
surprised me.
There,
And
somebody was talking about, we were talking about if they push. I think an idea was around if they push back football to like, it's crazy, like January. You're playing in like
well,
that, like,
I know that with the NBA, they were talking about pushing back the season to as far back as December right now. But with the NFL, would not surprise me if that still goes on as scheduled. And the good thing with the NFL and college football is like that what the season is still so far away. So who knows by then like
yeah.
with the virus it could be like so like not as like widespread, but as Doctor who again Matt Doctor before
Fauci, I think
the
Fauci.
Dr. Fauci said that a second wave is inevitable. So it's like do governments feel comfortable with saying, okay, we can start, the larger social gatherings, but I mean, like you figure by once flu season comes back, that we're
and
going to see another
and
wave
the
of that
yeah,
stuff.
and then yeah, like you said, another wave is possible,
Mhm.
depending there's good treatments.
Mhm.
Um, Before that, if we slowly release restrictions, we have to see how that works. Does cases go back up? Like, it's a the rest of this year is just going to be just it's going to be weird. Like, nothing. I don't think anything about the rest of this year is going to be any resemblance of normalcy that we're used to like just as soon as like February of this year.
I,
Um,
I do think though, as this year goes on though, like I don't think we're going to be o- overreacting as much just because we are seeing more and more people are consistently recovering from this, um more so, and like and of course you wouldn't exactly know that if you tune into CNN, who would make you think, oh, pretty much everyone in the world is dying now, but
I mean, yeah, well, I mean, people are still dying, but I think the curve's more flattening. I
mhm,
just look at the numbers in our state that I see every day,
mhm,
like
yeah,
the daily cases have recently been the stock market going up and down, but the trend is
right,
down. So
mhm,
hopefully by the end of the month, June, it's more feasible.
mhm,
But like the thing is, if even if there's still, I mean, less cases, but if you still got people who are asymptomatic or people who are sick can transfer that. I mean, cases
yeah,
can go back up, but if we as long as we don't have something that's definitively stopping the virus, you get sick, like okay, take this, we kill it, you're okay. I mean, I don't know. I mean, then you still got. I think we mentioned before. You still got the flu later in the year, or even
yeah,
now. I forget the flu season. Like,
mhm,
there's still a lot of stuff out there, but with this,
mhm.
it might not be until next year until more stuff's back to normal.
Yep, I think it's going to take a full year, man. Like I think any sort of form of normalcy, like I'm not even sure it will even be back in an actual bar again this year. Like that's kind of how sad that things are right now.
Hell, yeah. Well, it
Like
might not be until like fall,
hell
winter.
hell with the casino too, and like you and I like work down there constantly
Yeah, UFC.
for UFC events, but like I've have just accepted like that we're probably are not going to be going down there for quite a long time,
Yeah,
which which honestly for financial purposes,
I can live
I,
with.
I can live with, because boy, there were some times where I would just like, you know what, I I gotta go sort of thing, but like, you know,
By
I'm
either
fine
by
with it.
drinks or betting and
Hmm.
gambling, new stuff. I
Yeah,
mean, the
yeah.
only silver lining for us, I can guess, just for our experience, and not for
Hmm.
everybody, obviously, but for our conditions, I feel like we're saving a little bit of money
Hmm.
because obviously we're not going out buying a crap ton of stuff. I mean,
Right.
I've recently I've bought more stuff. I mean, there was um, like alcohol I've bought, but like I'm just trying to like save money, like not spend as much. I mean, there's nothing really to spend except for like
Yeah,
some food
I mean,
stuff. But
I know for me, the past 2 months since I've been working from home, I saved a lot just because I've gone out to so many happy hours after work on Fridays and to the casino, like, and
every
like
month, at least
go,
once a month.
yeah, and just going out for either dinner or for lunch, just like small things like that. And now like pretty much all of that is gone, like outside of my regular bills, with my student loans, my and my subscriptions and everything,
Yeah, that too.
to um for my streaming services. Like I've has spent probably as low as I have in a quite a while, which is good and all, because now I'm not really worrying about the finances side of things, and I mean that's a good thing to have when you still have an actual job right now, because I know that I'm one of the few lucky ones to where I don't have to worry about that. I'm still working from home and stuff, but hell, it's still a job. But all
Right.
right, so I think that's enough Corona talk for this week, Matt. So yeah, we didn't really touch on this too much. We just kind of just briefly talked about the NFL draft, and that was just from uh, from round one. And we're gonna be talking more about the Steelers draft more specifically. Matt, what were some of the takeaways for reactions that you saw from Steelers fans losing their goddamn minds
Um,
from their draft there?
I I mean, a lot of these players I've never heard of because I'm
Mhm.
not all in depth with the college football. Maybe
Right.
the only really person I knew was uh, first pick, Cincinnati Burrow. So that's his
Yep.
last name.
Yep. Jordan Burrow. Yep.
Um, I mean, I the only thing I look at for the Steelers every year is okay, what are our needs? Did they are they met? Did they fill in those needs? And they fill in the needs. Is
Hmm.
are those people going to live up to the going to be good? I don't know. I don't know.
Nope. Nobody knows.
I can't grade. I hate the grades for the draft. The grades are the draft is just on paper and just speculation at this point.
Everything is just built on potential right now.
Because you can. I mean, I brought this up last week. Tom Brady was last near the bottom of the draft when he got drafted,
6th round pick. Yep.
and look what
Antonio
happened.
Brown, same thing.
I keep seeing like hockey to switch it to hockey. Um, the was the 2004 2005 draft with Crosby, and there
Hmm.
was a picture of like all the draft picks, like the main draft picks, and I looked and went, the only one I recognize is Crosby, and I think maybe was it Jack Johnson that we
Hmm.
have,
Yep.
and everybody else was like a no
Yeah.
name. So
You
you don't
just
know
didn't. Yeah. You don't really know about them unless you're just really deep into that stuff. And I'm not really deep into it, but of the picks that the Steelers do get, I do my fair of consistent research with that. But like, I mean, I felt overall that it was a solid draft, not a great draft, and not a terrible draft, and it wasn't a very sexy draft either. Like, they got, but they answered a lot of the current needs that they had. Did they fill in all of of their needs of their needs? No, because to me, still defensive tackle and safety depth are two really key things that I'm really concerned about. Because as we know, Javon Hargrave signed a huge deal with the Phil with, with the Philadelphia Eagles. Sean Davis signed with the Washington Redskins, and we really don't have too many guys in those spots because I mean, at safety, yeah, you have both Minka Fitzpatrick and Terrell Edmonds, but man, if those guys go down, we are in trouble because we really don't have anyone else in those spots. So like I think with the Steelers, you're going to really depend on those XFL guys who they signed to hopefully be able to contribute in some way. I know that they signed the one defensive tackle from the New York Guardians, who I believe was the sack leader in the XFL. So who knows? Maybe he can give you something this season, but into with only 6 picks, it was just amazing to me just how many Steeler fans were getting pissed and that they wouldn't trade into the first round. I'm like, guys, we got 6 picks.
Well,
We're not in a position
yeah, I don't,
to do that. Like you know, got we traded away some of those picks and got some really good players. Two of them with Devin Bush and with Mika Fitzpatrick, who are going to be starters on this defense for the next 8, 9, or possibly 10 seasons. So I'm not going to be really mad about that.
yeah, no,
But now, but yeah,
yeah,
go.
that's the only reason why I pretty much watched the draft was just to see how the virtual stuff would happen,
Mm-hmm.
and I really only like watch the first round. I try to watch it every year just to see because it's more hype, and I just kind of just really tune in for when the Steelers pick. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
other than that, I can care less. I just hope
Yeah.
who they pick works out, and it's
Mm-hmm.
only you only can hope and a prayer.
Yeah, and what's going to be interesting for next season though, they're going to have probably their most. They're probably are going to have their most compensation picks that they've had in years because I'll be shocked with Javon Hargrave if that does not turn a like third round um into a third round compensation pick just based off of his contract. Um, and there was and BJ Finney that'll probably be like a 6 round comp pick there, and I believe there was probably another signing. Maybe I cannot recall off the top of of my head right now, but there are guys out there who signed pretty decent deals, and so they'll be fine. And you know, and there were so many fans who were pissed that we didn't take a quarterback. Like this, I mean, Kevin Colbert and Tomlin have been on a record for the past 6 months or so. We feel good about our quarterbacks situation. Like the Steelers are pretty honest with what they see from their draft strategy. They don't typically um, lie or try to swerve you as 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 Vince Russo would say. It's just like it, based on all of the needs that this team really needed. They needed some help at wide receiver. They need some help at running back. They needed some depth on the offensive line. They needed some depth at the outside linebacking position. So, in which all four of those things were addressed. And so some of the guys who I'm really interested in seeing, Alex Highsmith, who we took in the third round, he could possibly Dupree's potential replacement there, and according to, I believe Jerry Dulac said this. I'm not sure if it was during the week of the draft or prior to it. Um, he was speculating that he doesn't expect that a long term extension is going to be getting done between the Steelers and with Bud Dupree. And since he signed that franchise tender, and with this, it kind of makes me think that they probably are not going to do that. And on top of that, Matt, you still need to resign TJ Watt, who's going to probably be the highest paid outside linebacker when he's due to get
Right.
his cash. And with the salary cap going up with the new TV contracts and everything, it's just like there's just so many other things that are going to factor into that. And also, I'm interested to see what Chase Claypool is going to do because they were even speculating now with Juju, could this possibly be his final season? You can't
Um,
rule it out. It just kind of depends how much that he's going to ask for and how that's going to eventually work out. But I feel like that they'll probably bring him back just because
Yeah.
because more specifically with with Ben, he's really the only wide receiver who he has a pretty good
Yeah.
rapport with right now.
You have to see once
Mhm.
um, uh, the season's or whenever the season is with him, how Juju plays to see what happens. I mean, he had it down here last year, but everybody did because there was
Just
no freaking
just so
quarterback.
many just so many injuries
Yeah,
too. Like
last year was just
there was just like anything that could have gone wrong, it did go
yeah,
wrong.
and
The only bright spot that you can take away from that season was we now have a top five defense. That's like the sole thing that we can take away and just and to look forward to this season is like if they bring because outside of Javon Hargrave and I believe outside of like Mark Barron, they're bringing back the same exact defense, and on top of that, a healthy step onto it, who was having up until he got hurt and an All Pro season at that point. So if those guys are healthy, man, like this defense is going to cause a lot of teams a lot of problems.
yeah, if,
And and of course, like everyone is just jumping on the freaking Cleveland Browns bandwagon
again,
again. I'm like feel free and I'm not discrediting anything that the Cleveland Browns are doing because they clearly fixed their offensive line issues with the tackle Jack Conklin, who they signed from the Tennessee Titans, and they also drafted Austin Jackson from Southern Cal, who's going to be more than likely their starting left tackle. So they clearly answered that, and they had a pretty good draft from what I saw. I just question with more specifically a, with a Baker Mayfield, is his leadership and his maturity, because that was a big problem last season, because when anything started to go bad, that that team cracked. But I also think too a lot of that had to do with the coaching staff just wasn't that good outside of actually no, because Greg Williams was with the New York Jets at that point. It was just there was so much turmoil, there was so much dysfunction that it was hard for them to be really successful. So we'll see how that goes. But man, like those damn Baltimore Ravens, man, just like you just look at their draft and you're just like, this is why between us and them we're um,
1 and 2.
always consistently 1 and 2. Just these and this is why with the Baltimore Ravens, that's why they will forever be our number one rival, and vice versa. It's always going to be that way because organi- these two organizations are so stable. They make the right moves when they need to, and but like it pains me to say it, but man, they're going to be tough. Like they're so going to be tough. But I do wonder though, with Lamar Jackson, how he's going to adjust into going into year number three, our team's going to slowly start to figure him out. Because if he's just forced to be a pocket passer, um, I still have questions about that. It, even though he greatly improved a lot, it's just he and we saw it in that postseason game against the Titans. They forced him to throw outside of the hash marks, and they eliminated anything inside because that's where they killed teams all season last season. So it'll be interesting to see how that went. But
Mm-hmm.
Matt, as far as from a presentation, how did you think that everything went with the whole
I th-
virtual virtual draft?
I think it went as smooth as you can imagine. I mean,
Hmm.
it. I think it worked. Uh, I think the first round, like we talked about last week, is just there's so much fluff, and it just takes too long to get the first couple picks out.
Hmm.
It's like and it lasts way too long. It lasts till like
Hmm.
almost midnight, maybe. I can't remember, but it
Thursday night, like that didn't end at like until like 11:45
yeah. I mean,
or something like that.
like
It was
just
just like I was just like, is this thing ever going to
it's
end?
like just give me the picks, talk about them a little bit,
Hmm.
and like they wait until all those interview segments were done to announce the picks. I'm just like,
Yeah,
and
like I mean, I stayed up for it all, and if I'll say this, if I was not wor- working from home, I would not have stayed up that late.
it's just like I
That.
don't. It's like half the time, like I don't
Mhm.
care.
Mhm.
Like I wish there was. I wish they did. Because I know what ESPN does for like the national championship. You have like ESPN with the actual game. I think ESPN 2 has like
Mhm.
another like they do like a split screen. They have you have the stats, you have the game, but you have pictures of the coaches and stuff. Have
Mhm.
another channel that is showing the draft. And there's your, and then you can have your
Yeah,
interviews
yeah.
and breaking
Me-
down more so and that and just go where the
mhm.
actual main channel draft. Yeah, you
It
have
was.
some commentary, but just just keep it moving.
But I mean, I think one thing cannot be understated though is how popular that this thing is
Absolutely.
because for night one they did 15.6 million viewers for that, and I think for all three nights combined, I think they had over 55 million or some ridiculous number like that. It's just like it's just amazing just how popular that this thing is. It's just essentially a freaking amateur draft, man. But it just and
Yeah.
a testament to how popular.
Nobody, no other draft comes even close. Like nobody
Well,
cares about any other draft.
and two, it just with college football, it's so popular to begin with.
Yeah.
And like you have so many fans who are emotionally connected to a lot of these players, not to mention a lot of hardcore fans are connected with their teams. Like they're really glued in. Like there's more people doing research on these guys now more than ever, especially with the advent of social media and with the highlights being on sites such as YouTube and everything. It's just it's a freaking media gone conglomerate with the NFL, man, and this is why they just year after year are just making more and more revenue, and this is just proof of that. And which is why I laughed a few years ago when people were saying that the NBA was going to overtake the NFL, and I said that's a good joke. That's not going to be happening in a very long time. I'm not going to say ever, just because a lot of things can change era to era. But unless people just stop playing football, which I don't see happening, and unless people stop caring about football, which I don't see happening, just because there's constantly new faces, new talent, just constantly getting into the league year after year after year. It's pretty amazing. But that was the NFL draft. Oh, and Matt, did you catch the new episode of Dark Side of the Brain
Yes.
with Dr. David Schultz?
Mm-hmm.
What did you think?
Um, this was another one that I didn't really know about. His history, I really never heard of him to be honest. But the Stossel interview and that whole saga. That was pretty interesting to see. Um,
Yeah, I was like, I
and I
did
like
not
and
know.
I like Stossel.
Yeah. Yeah, I went into this completely blind. Like I had never even heard of this guy until I looked it up and just basically everything that went on with this. But I mean, just how this thing was wholly formatted. It seems like to me that Dr. David Schultz was set up to be the guy who Hogan was supposed to be feuding with going into WrestleMania 1. And basically, when this whole thing happened, that pretty much just squashed any sort of possibility with this whole thing. And I mean, like to me, there were some shady points. Who was the one wrestler who basically exposed everything up this?
Oh crap! Uh, I forget his. I can't believe I can't think of his name.
Oh, Ed, Eddie Mansfield.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah. So basically, Eddie was honestly, like, I'm not sure if you agree with me, but to me, I don't think that 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 this person gave a crap about the boys or the wrestlers or anything like that. To me, he came off like a guy who was completely bitter, that he didn't exactly get what he exactly wanted. Just wanted to basically change everything, getting the guy's health care. That was his whole thing. Was I wanted to give my I wanted to give I wanted to give my peers, you know, I'm like health insurance, so on and so forth, which I don't necessarily believe that, and especially if you ask Jim Cornette and David Schultz, they would agree as such. Like when I was hearing Cornette talk about this, it was like he was talking about the cosplay wrestlers, as he says on his weekly podcast when he's pairing guys. Like you could just see the anger and the
I
straight up hate that he had.
I think it's more of a. I believe he was sincere,
Mm-hmm.
given that it almost a combination of both.
Mm-hmm.
That maybe he was upset and maybe he did want health care because he
Mm-hmm.
went through it and
Right.
wanted better health. And
Mm-hmm.
because if you count back then, if you count wrestling as a sport, which it was portrayed as,
Yep. Yep. It
why
was.
why can't the people who are considered athletes getting covered like other people? So that is a valid point. And then at the same time, if you expose the business, then it's like
which he
you
which he completely did.
yeah,
And
that
that
whole
was the one
interview.
thing. And that was the one thing Cornette just could not forgive him for, which I cannot blame him
Yeah,
at
because
all.
at the time, yeah, because I mean, it's different now because obviously everybody knows, and ironically, McMahon labeled changing from a sport to entertainment or sports entertainment to get the um, uh, uh,
the
sports commissions and all that
Yep,
to stop taking
basically.
fees from them because they
Yep,
get a cut.
yeah, like Vince was a complete genius when it came to that. It's just like that essentially eliminated that whole issue, which
And they can do whatever they want because it is an entertainment. It's not an actual sport. Nobody has to
which
get
and
tested and fall under guidelines. Excuse me.
mhm, yeah, which that led to every single state passing that. So now big and two, like every single state saw, like, man, WWF at that point was generating so much revenue at that point that like every single state wanted that consistent attraction.
And they
So
okayed it. So
yeah,
like, it's ironic that that happened the way it did when they were still trying to keep the business a business.
yeah,
And I mean, at the time, I mean, I don't blame them because that's your livelihood. You want to come off like as legit, if you're a
Hmm.
wrestler, you're keeping the kayfabe, you're keeping the character, you're living the gimmick, if you will.
Yeah.
Even when um, he was getting trained, um, that they beat the crap out of him to prove that he can hang, and then smarten him up to the business,
Hmm.
and learn how to do everything. I
Yeah.
mean, today it's way, like I said, it's way different. Like you get into the business has just changed so much
Hmm.
that like if you have baby faces and heels, like we look and go, oh, that's a good heel. Like I like him, he's so good. Like back in the day, you don't like a person,
Everyone
you
thought that it was a.
you
Everyone
hated
thought
it,
that. Everyone thought that this was a complete shoot
and
back then.
now and now you have to
Like how
yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
like I was just talking like Hogan, like when he was first breaking in, he thought that everything was a complete shoot. Like he like was literally fighting for his life every single night he was talking about, because he did not know anything about that, just because everything was just so closed off to the audience, and it was an unwritten rule. You protect the business. You kayfabe everything.
Yeah,
Like
you don't see each other in the same place outside.
nope, nope.
Like,
Just
and
it
now
just
it's now
now.
everybody's playing video games with each other.
Mhm.
Doing like it's way different. It's obviously everybody knows it's entertainment,
Yeah,
and like it's
it's a
hard.
show.
It's a
Yep,
show, and
it's a
it's
show.
just like, oh, he plays a good bad guy,
Hmm.
but is is there a is there true heels anymore? No, you just have somebody who acts good. But like, yeah,
Yeah.
he's a good bad guy. Do you really hate him? No. And people who you do hate, it's like, oh, that's bad heat because I don't like him. But at the same time, isn't he? You cross that line now. Like, aren't you supposed to not like him? Well,
Right.
no. Well, yeah, but I just don't like him because he sucks. And I
Hmm.
think you get in this whole gray area, and it's a way different time.
Absolutely, and with David Schultz specifically, that man was the most unlikable human being. Came off as the most unlikable human being you can ever imagine.
Yeah.
And I think if he would have stayed in the WWF, he would have gone down as one of the best heels that company had would have ever produced. And I'm not so sure if he got his big break, that with Piper would be as big, as he turned
Oh,
out to be
maybe.
too. So like that could have changed that whole course of history there. So just pretty amazing to say the least. Another big thing that we also saw, Matt, was episodes 3 and 4 of the Chicago Bulls, the Last Dance. These episodes just continue to be more and more fun to watch. Like I will never get tired of seeing
Mm-hmm.
these episodes. And a friend of mine who somehow got access to every single episode of this thing, which I said I freaking hate you. First of all, secondly, he told me episodes 5, 6, 7, and 8 are very very good. So supposedly supposedly the meat and the potatoes is going to be within those episodes right there, which, man, like, and these things have been amazing. It's just I'm just amazed with how crazy that freaking Dennis Rodman was. This man, he asks Michael Jordan if Phil Jackson, I need a little vacation.
Any
Um,
break.
I need a break for 48 hours. I'm gonna go into Vegas with Carmen
I
Electra,
totally forgot or didn't know that they dated.
who, by the way, is still a freaking 10. I'll just say that right now. And that whole story, man, of freaking MJ had to go into the hotel in Vegas to track him out to get him back into practice is some of the greatest one of the greatest stories I'm going to
I,
definitely take away
yeah,
from this
that
whole.
dude, that would never fly today. Like
No,
that,
just
they would get torn to shreds.
like like could you imagine if that 98 Bulls team was in like 2 days era where social media is just everywhere, like there would have been so many TMZ videos of
Oh yeah,
Dennis
he probably
Rodman,
would have.
Paul.
He probably would have been cut just
Oh
by
yeah,
peer pressure.
yeah, oh yeah, like it just like
Maybe Jackson would have been fired for letting him do that. Oh yes,
it was just like it, it was crazy insane. And also episode 3 really focused on the Bad Boys Pistons and how they just gave the Chicago Bulls every fight that you could imagine. But like one thing I just like found hilarious or just really just disrespectful is like that they didn't have the decency to after the
yeah,
Chicago Bulls swept them, that they didn't have the decency to shake hands. And a lot of those guys bring up the fact, well, there was a comment that MJ made that basically he called them bad champions, blah blah blah. And I was like, for everything that you guys did to him, and he still shook your hands after you beat him. Like to me, that's just a lame excuse. And like you can still tell from this day that the hatred and the bitterness between those two teams is still there. I mean, like I remember Horace Grant said on here, he called them oh, what did he call them, Matt?
I forget.
uh,
I totally forget.
like it was like it was like fake pitches or straight up pitches or something like that. It's just
Yeah, yeah. I don't remember.
and like and a lot of people have speculated as to this is why they did not include Isaiah Thomas on the 1992 Dream Team, was because of this stunt and how just disrespectful that he was to MJ, which I can't really discredit just because there were so many people who did respect Jordan and who felt like that they were cheating the game or disrespecting the game by just like shaking someone's hand. And like I get it, it was a freaking war, completely different time back then, because especially when you see the NBA guys now, Matt, so much more cordial and friendly.
Yeah,
Whereas back in the 80s and the 90s, those were fights. Like just the blatant cheap shots at the Bad Boys Pistons would just take liberties on everybody, and they
I mean, hey, just look at getting into hockey again. Look at hockey after uh, playoff wins. You have and how those games go. They still do the handshake after.
Hellum Sid and Ovechkin every single time they they look at each other dead in the eye, shake their hand, win or lose their hand.
Everybody does. And
Mm-hmm.
remember the time when was it was it 08 or 09? I forget when I think the Red Wings got all upset because Crosby apparently didn't do the handshake or whatever.
Yeah, or basically he didn't do it quick enough, and that's why they were mad about that.
Yeah,
Which I'm like, he just won his first Stanley Cup. Give the guy a freaking break.
yeah.
So,
It's not like he
but
didn't do it, but
no,
like,
and
but like,
and he's yeah.
but like stuff like that. But at least they did.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, Detroit walked off the court before
Mm-hmm.
the game ended. Like you
Before
don't,
the game even ended.
you don't do that. How Little League baseball, you always say good game.
Mm-hmm.
You walk, you do the the hand clap, good game, good game. You do that
Hmm.
even if you done it many times, even if you got you, your butt whooped or there's people on the other team you just don't like, you still you do it. It
Hmm.
just you,
I mean, hell, like
shake your hands
hell, like
and get off.
as much as the Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens hate each other, like, and this has been going on for about 20 years now. They still shake hands after games,
Yeah,
man.
there's a
And
mutual respect.
there is a mutual respect, and while I understand what the Pistons were coming from, it still was a bad look, and it was, but like that was their image. They were
Yeah,
they were the biggest heels, probably in sports at that
yeah,
point. Like they pissed off a whole lot of people, won a ton of games,
yeah.
but yeah,
It's one
it
of those
just
things like just because I think it was the Celtics that did that to them before, right? Was it Larry Bird?
yeah, but supposedly, like they were forced off the court according to one writer. So basically,
Well,
that whole thing. Yeah, but yeah,
regardless, like, don't you want to be better? You don't want to
yeah,
be like them. If again, go back to if they jump off a bridge, would you do it?
yeah.
Like, you got
It's
to be
just
better. Yeah, you were um, dominant all those years, and
mhm.
now you can correct me if I'm wrong because I don't know my history, but pretty much after that, didn't Detroit fall off after that?
Yeah.
Because
Well, yeah.
it was like the
They were,
Bulls, and then
yeah. Basically, they were getting old at that point, and that's when they're basically their thing ended, because I think following season is when Chuck Daly, he was no longer the head coach, and I believe that Dennis Rodman eventually ended up in San Antonio, for a few seasons, which then he got traded to the Chicago Bulls, a few seasons later.
yeah,
So yeah, that was
yeah.
essentially it
And then once the
for
Bulls
the
beat
Pistons.
them, yeah, because I
Mhm.
don't remember thinking back that they've been
No,
anything since.
because then the Chicago Bulls won.
Pretty
They
much
won.
dominated the '90s.
Yeah, so they won three straight titles. Then I think the Houston Rockets won. I think in '94 and '95, I believe, and
And
then and then
the
obviously
other three
'96
peat.
and '97 and '98 is when the Chicago Bulls won
Yeah,
the
so that was like the defining moment in both
oh, another thing too,
franchises.
and another thing too on Phil Jackson, being on on like acid
Those
apparently when
pictures were great.
completely hippie '70s, like the perfect depiction of how you picture a guy in the '70s.
Right,
That
I
was
gotta
Phil
find.
Jackson. Hmm.
I'm gonna see if I can find if I have this tweet tweet ready. Hang on. Let me see if I can.
Hmm.
Well, I'm gonna have this. I'm gonna screw this up. Share my
Yeah,
screen, but once I find it, yeah. But those pictures were hilarious.
yeah,
Um,
and also with Phil, they like basically talked about his playing career, his early upbringing with his parents, who were devout Christians, from what that said, and that basically, he didn't really too much, and he wanted to obviously do some more things, which is why he got into sports. Um, but
let
uh,
me. I gotta change this. So
okay,
right now, everybody's seeing a black screen right now. Give me 2 seconds. There we go. You see? Are you seeing this right now?
nothing yet. Yeah,
Um,
it's it's blank right now, man.
what about now?
Okay, yeah,
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 but okay, everybody else saw it. So
yeah.
this his Saturday Night Live thing, like
Mhm.
back in the '70s, that
Yeah,
was perfect.
yep,
That's
yep,
exactly what you probably would have saw back in the day. Whoever did
yep.
this, if it was this person, I don't know, is great.
Yeah, that's a perfect description
And now let me
right
ever.
there. But and they were going about with Phil talking about his whole coaching career, how he got with the Chicago Bulls, and that with Jerry Krause, he was really pinning him down as an assistant, because I think like at think in the earlier years that Krause had a chance to bring him in as an assistant coach, but it didn't really work out. Eventually comes in and to where he's starting to implement concepts of the triangle, which went completely against of what the current head coach Doug of what Doug Collins was doing, and you could tell there was a tough transition when eventually Phil took the reins there, because with MJ specifically, under Collins, it was basically um it was basically helping out everything and surrounding everything around MJ, whereas under Phil Jackson and the Triangle, it was focusing more on the whole entire team aspect of things. And MJ even said he did not love Phil being hired at that time, but over time,
Yeah.
that obviously changed her.
Yep.
But yeah, some very good episodes. Once again, episodes 5 and 6 are going to be on this Sunday. I cannot wait to see that. That is for sure. Just some other minor things here before we head off on the podcast here. We did have one piece of WWE news, Matt. Curtis Axel, he did end up getting
Ooh, bless me.
um he did end up getting released yesterday, I believe. So
Shocked I am not.
yeah, and we talked about this on the MB show. Not not entirely surprised, and honestly, not that big of a loss either. At that point, just because he, on being Curtis Axel, just really hasn't done anything the past few years.
Nope.
Um, and to be perfectly honest, I'm kind of surprised that his former tag team partner Dallas is still with a job right now. Just there's a lot of fat on the WWE roster even now. Just a ton of guys who are there and who aren't really doing anything, who I feel don't exactly need to be there. And as also what I said on the podcast, Matt. If I'm Cody, I am not really interested in signing Curtis Axel. Same thing goes for guys like Keith Slater and guys such as like No Way Jose. It's just,
Zack Ryder,
yeah, you can't sign everybody. And I think that's
especially not now.
especially not now. And we have gone over who who we would sign on, but yeah, but I would imagine that we're going to be seeing more and more cuts here as the summer goes on here. And I believe I saw a tweet from Russell Votes. It was a few days ago, but that basically was saying that if you are a current wrestler in that company, and if you want out of your contract, they will gladly release you, because with Vince, he's trying to cut as much revenue as possible with them. So that's kind of the current state of things right now.
Yep.
Okay. Is there anything else that we wanted to talk about, Matt? Matt, I think this will probably do for the podcast this week. I think we've gone on long enough. So, and so did you want to add anything before?
uh, no, I don't think I have anything to add.
All right then. All right, guys. Thank you as always for tuning in. We did go a little bit longer this week than we have. Just some kind of a little bit more to talk about. But as always, we do our weekly AEW and NXT reaction shows every single Wednesday. We have our small podcast with Brian every Friday night. So stay tuned for that. And we may we may possibly do something about the about the UFC pay per view for next Saturday. And Matt, correct me if I'm wrong. Is Money in the Bank?
Sunday, the day after.
Okay, so that so also that might possibly be on the agenda as well. So
Maybe talk about, I don't know, maybe talk about both. I don't know.
yeah, we'll see.
Saturday's gonna be interesting, and then I'll talk to you after we hit record
Yeah.
or
All right, guys.
pause.
So for John, for Matt, stay safe, and we shall see you on Wednesday.